Freezing up when it's your turn to speak in English is frustrating. You understand what you hear or what you read, but when it's your turn to express yourself, your brain goes blank and you just can't seem to get the words out. This hurts your confidence and it makes you feel like your English is just not good enough. So today, I want to help you understand why this happens and what you can do to stop it happening again so you can actually communicate confidently in English. So let's get cracking. Welcome to the BritSpeakPod, the podcast designed to help you feel more confident when you communicate in English. Hey up, mate. How you doing today? Well, I'm not too bad. Thanks for asking, and welcome to episode 111 of the BritSpeakPod, where today we're talking all about why you freeze up when it's your turn to speak in English. But if you're new around here, my name is Dan. Nice to meet you. I'm a CELTA qualified British English teacher and a communication coach. I've been doing this for like 10 years, and my goal is to help you feel more confident when you're communicating in English. And to help you do just that, I've got a free training workshop for you. The link is in the description. It's called Stop Freezing and Start Speaking. So check it out now. Today's episode then, we're talking all about freezing up when it's your turn to speak in English. This is one of the most common problems I hear from people that I work with in my private lessons and in my courses. And it breaks my heart a little bit, to be honest. It's one of those things that causes such a big problem for people. And most people don't really understand why it's happening or what to do, right? So this is something that if you're struggling with, I really hope you pay attention, because I think what you're going to learn today will really help you out, right? So let's talk a little bit about what's happening. Let's imagine that you're in a meeting or somebody asks you a question or whatever, right? And you're put on the spot and it's your turn to speak. Now, for whatever reason, you get a bit overwhelmed and you panic, and then suddenly you freeze up. Like you forget the words, you lose your train of thought, your brain just kind of goes blank and you're stood there like, and this is so tragic because you've got good information in your head. You've got a lot of interesting things to share, but you just don't seem to be able to do it when it's your turn to speak. Now, probably when it comes to writing and you've got time to think and prepare and check what you want to say, you're probably pretty good. But the real-time nature of communication just means that you end up just trapped in that kind of panic. And you don't really know what's causing it. You don't really know how to get out of it. And what usually happens is when that silence creeps in, you panic. Of course you do. It's not a nice feeling. And you've got to say something. They've asked you a question, right? So when that panic kicks in, what usually happens is your brain will just scramble. And it will try and think of anything to say. Just so we've got to say something quick. Say it. And that can end up causing a few problems. First of all, you're likely to just say random things, not well thought out, not well structured, and can be a bit rambly sometimes. And that can cause misunderstandings. You can confuse the people that you're trying to speak to, right? That sucks. You might even end up with misunderstandings where people ask you to repeat yourself or whatever, and that in turn makes you think, oh my God, I can't even say basic stuff. My English is terrible, And that hurts your confidence, right? And when your confidence gets hurt, guess what you're going to do? You're going to avoid that situation. So the next time somebody asks you a question, you're likely to say something like, no, I don't know. Even though you do know and you've got good information and you've got loads of opinions and you want to express yourself, you can't. So you just give up. Oh, I don't know. That sucks, right? We don't want that. Because that eventually will hold you back, whether that's at work, whether that's in your social life or just in your daily life, going about your day-to-day existence, right? So that, in a nutshell, is the problem. That's kind of what's going on, right? The next thing I want to talk about is what people think causes this problem, right? If this has happened to you in the past, probably you've had a thought process that goes something like this. Oh, I couldn't speak when I was in that conversation. My English must be really bad. So I must need more vocabulary, or my grammar's not good enough, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever reason, right? And you seem to believe that you can just study your way through it, right? If you go back and you study your vocabulary and your grammar and you really study and you knuckle down, this problem's going to disappear, right? On the other hand, some people just think that there's something wrong with them. Like, oh, I'm not the kind of person that can speak another language. There's something wrong with me. I just don't have that skill, right? Or the other side of the coin is that people think, well, it'll eventually fix itself. I'm usually in that last group, but from experience, I know it doesn't work. But a lot of people do that. They think, oh, it's not my fault. It'll go on its own eventually. I've just got to wait. So those are the assumptions, right? People seem to think it's a language problem, or they're not trying hard enough, or there's something wrong with them, or it just takes time and there's nothing else they can do, right? All of that is wrong. There's no nicer way to say it. All of that stuff is wrong. Vocabulary and grammar maybe is the problem in 1% of cases that I've dealt with, but everything else is kind of just wrong, And if you really subscribe to that idea, you'll probably have noticed that it doesn't work and, you're still in the same situation, no matter how hard you try, right? It's like running on a hamster wheel. Don't matter how fast you run, you're still going to be stuck in the same place, right? So what you need is a different plan. Now, the uncomfortable truth of this situation is that this problem is not actually related to language knowledge, right? And this is because understanding the language and speaking the language are very different skills. They're not the same thing. Just because you understand a word doesn't mean you can use it. Just because you understand what swimming is doesn't mean you can swim. It's like that. And the truth is, if you want to build speaking skills, you have to focus on building speaking skills specifically. Not vocabulary, not grammar, not even pronunciation. I mean, that's part of it, but we're talking about communication skills at this point. And unless you focus on practicing and building those skills specifically, it's not going to get better. It's not going to improve on its own. You're not going to fix it with more vocabulary and grammar. You need focused practice, right? And the truth is, this is going to suck. It's going to be really uncomfortable. It's going to be really difficult. It's going to be totally different to what you've been doing before. And you're going to feel very, very vulnerable. But that is important. The way that we improve any skill in life is by being uncomfortable, getting out of our comfort zone, right? It's not nice, but that is where progress actually happens. That's where you experiment, you try new things. It doesn't work. You learn, you improve, you get better. That all requires doing different things, and it all requires being uncomfortable. There's no other way around it. If you want to become good at something, you've got to be uncomfortable because you're going to be bad at it for a long time, right? It's same with anything. If you want to learn to play guitar, you're going to have to be bad at guitar for a long time. That's just how it works. And people are going to think that you suck, and you're going to think that you suck, and you can't play songs properly. But if you keep going, eventually you'll be able to play a song, and that's going to feel good. But there's a lot of hard work and uncomfortableness. Uncomfortableness? I don't think that's a real word. But there's going to be a lot of bad stuff in the middle, right? However, when you get over that mountain and you eventually start to feel better, right? There's a load of benefits. The first is that speaking is going to be less stressful for you, right? You're going to feel way less stressed when somebody asks you a question in a meeting, right? Because you know you can handle the situation. You've been practicing it. And that means that you might actually bloody enjoy it. Because this is a weird thing about humans. When we don't enjoy something, we try and avoid it. Like me and going to the gym, But honestly, if you enjoy something, you actually get dopamine and you want to do it. So if you enjoy conversations, you're going to want to have more conversations. And guess what that does? That builds more experience and boosts your confidence and you get better. Great. They're all good things, right? So feeling less stress when it's your turn to speak is an amazing benefit from focusing on this, right? Not only that, you'll be able to better connect with the other people around you. Your colleagues, your co-workers, your friends, family even. If you can connect with those people on a deeper level and build relationships that are based on more than just, I like potatoes or whatever basic English you've been able to get out in the past, that connection is why we learn another language. The whole purpose of learning another language, at least for me, is to connect with other people and share ideas and thoughts and feelings and opinions. And all of that stuff gets easier if you can boost your speaking and communication skills, right? And as a reaction to that, by the way, you will also boost your confidence, which is good stuff, right? So let's talk about how we actually do this then. Because it's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, you need to practice more, blah, blah, blah. But all right, Dan, what do I actually need to do? Well, there's kind of 4 points that you need to address, right? The first is you've got to find a way to consistently practice speaking skills. And it's got to be very focused practice. We're not talking pronunciation practice at this point. We're talking about how to practice speaking as though it was real life. And there's a bunch of ways to do this. I am a big fan of things like random topic generators. If you go online and Google something like conversation starters or something like that, and there'll be websites that generate a prompt, and it'll just be a random question. And then you can practice, you should practice answering that question. But it's really important that you practice in a realistic way. There's no point spending 30 seconds preparing your answer or asking ChatGPT what kind of thing you should say. You can't do that in a real conversation, so what's the point in doing that here? The best thing to do is speak off the cuff, without preparation, as though it was a real situation. Get a prompt online, click refresh, get a new prompt, start speaking immediately. Try and speak for 30 to 60 seconds. A good practice that I always tell people is if you want to expand your ability to answer questions, do what we call 3-6-9. So this is where you speak for 30 seconds, and then you answer the same question for 60 seconds, and then you answer the same question for 90 seconds, and you keep pushing. So you're forced to add more and more information, and you build fluency around that, okay? We're not really talking about fluency today, but that's a great bit of practice that you can incorporate if you want to, right? So you need to find a way to practice speaking every single day. And I'm not talking for hours. 10 to 15 minutes is usually enough. And, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can go online and look for videos, or you can make your own practice routine up. It doesn't matter. And when you're doing this practice, I really want to stress this. It doesn't need to be perfect. That's not the point, right? It's not an exam. It's not a test where they're going to give you a score. It's like going to the gym and lifting a weight. You don't have to do it perfectly every single time. You just have to go there and do it over and over again. And that's kind of the point of this, right? Now, I should also stress the second point that you need is patience, and a lot of it, because some days it's going to suck, and some days you're not going to want to do it, and some days you're going to do it, but it's going to be proper bad. That is life, mate. That's all part of the process. And for a long, long time, you're going to feel like it's not getting better. Patience, my friend. Like they said in Star Wars, patience, young Padawan. Like, you've got to just roll with it. Set in your head that in 30 days, it's still going to suck. In 3 months, it's probably not going to be much better. But if you stick with it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, it will get better. I promise you. And one way that you can make that feel a bit better is just worry about if you do the practice or not. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad, doesn't matter if it's better than last time. It just matters, did I do it, yes or no, right? If you focus on the streak, if you like, I did it for 28 days in a row. That's the important thing. That's going to make it feel easier, because that's something that's very binary, yes or no. If you start worrying about, oh, did I do a good job or not, you're going to get, feeling bad. So don't do that. So you need focused and consistent practice. You need a shit ton of patience, to be honest. You're also going to need some frameworks. Now, frameworks are speaking strategies. And the reason we need this is to reduce overwhelm, right? One of the big problems with speaking in English is people get overwhelmed because their brain is trying to do a million things at once. They're trying to think of what they want to say. They're trying to find the right words. They're trying to put them in the right order. They're trying to make sure that the other person doesn't think they're an idiot. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? And that causes overwhelm, which is another reason that you freeze up quite often when you're speaking in English. And frameworks reduce some of that stress because it's like a backup plan for your brain, right? One that I always teach is things like the actor method, or things like the STAR method or the PrEP method. These are all ways to organize your ideas easily to answer questions. So if you worry less about what information you need to include and what order to put that information, because you already know, because you've got a framework for that, that's like half of the work. And if you can reduce the work by 50%, that's going to reduce the stress by 50%, right? So learn some frameworks. There's a load of them that work in different situations. It's something that I talk about all the time. So yeah, learn some frameworks because they'll reduce your overwhelm. For example, off the top of my head, the PrEP framework, right? The point, the reason, the example, and the point again. I think that's because, for example, and that's why. This framework helps me answer any question without really thinking about what information I need to include. So learn some frameworks because they'll reduce the overwhelm, which reduces the stress and makes everything easier. And the last thing you're going to need is some kind of feedback. Now, ideally, in an ideal world, you work with somebody like me and I tell you, like, that was good, that was bad, this is what we need to do, blah, blah, blah. And you get some feedback. That speeds the whole process up, right? Failing that, you could ask ChatGPT. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend really using AI for feedback because it's very generic and it usually doesn't know what the fuck it's talking about. But you could, if you really want to. I wouldn't recommend it. Another great way is give yourself feedback. When you're doing your daily speaking practice, get your phone and record your speaking practice. Then after a month, go back and listen to it. Was I easy to understand? Did I freeze up? Did I make a good point? Was I able to speak for 30 seconds? Whatever the thing you're focusing on. Listen back to yourself when you're speaking, and then you can think, well, that part wasn't good. That's what I need to work on next, right? Now, yeah, nobody likes their own voice. I'm a podcaster, and I edit my own voice. And I don't like my own voice. So of course you're not going to like your own voice. But going back to what I said earlier, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be difficult. But if you want to improve, that's a great way to do it. So if you are freezing up when you speak in English, you kind of need those 4 points. You need focus, consistent practice. You need a shit ton of patience. You need some frameworks to reduce overwhelm. And you need a way to give yourself some feedback. And if you do all of those things and you keep going, you're going to feel better about your English and you're going to freeze up less and you're going to feel more confident and you're going to be able to connect with people and life's going to be much better, right? And if you are ready to take that next step, I have something that you're going to want to check out. It's my free training workshop. It's called the Stop Freezing and Start Speaking Training Plan. It's designed to help you speak more confidently in English. It's totally free. You can get it right now using the link in the description. So why don't you check it out? But over to you. I want to ask you guys, do you often freeze up when speaking in English? And how does it make you feel? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you click that follow button to make sure you don't miss a future episode? But that's it for this one. I'll be back again with another one really soon. But until then, look after yourself, mate. See you there.